Welcome to Sustainable Success. If you're just joining us for the first time, you found us here at the Libsyn platform that we've been on since January of this year. And again, for any of you listeners that have been with us for quite some time, again, welcome as always. We are committed each and every week in bringing subject matters experts in to share their words of insight and personal experience in helping you to take your business personally and as a company overall to the next level. Our show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, it does take out all the noise out of social media. No more of those noisy notifications. You get to come in and generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. It also offers a wide array of different services not available to the general public as a member. And if you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. We also encourage everybody that is new to sustainable success, even though we've been on the airwaves now for over 8 years. It's hard to believe, over 8 years. You could also listen to us on Spotify, Apple as well. And we're now on YouTube. Now, not an audio version of the show, but you can listen to the audio side if you prefer YouTube. So you have 3 ways to listen to the show. Well, actually 4 ways. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and of course our main platform on Lisbon, which you can see in the show notes anytime and how you can access the show. And again, we encourage you to follow us there as well as our Facebook page at Sustainable Success 2017. Again, you'll find all the show episodes we've done since the inception over 8 years ago. There is a lot of content, a lot of great episodes that you can listen to at any given time. So feel free to check that out. And we encourage you to do that again, especially for those that are new to the show. We got a great show for you planned here today. We're going to be talking about sustainable success, future-proof your business with strategies used by top tech companies. Yes, how can you future-proof your business with the right strategies that many top tech companies are doing? You know, in this episode, you're going to be listening to how a 5-step framework from our subject matter expert that any organization can use to maximize profit and build a sustainable future. And you're going to learn about strategies that are used by many top tech firms to maintain a competitive edge and how any organization can leverage that to ensure long-term success. We are going to be here today with our subject matter expert, Arunansu. He goes by Arun. Pattanayak. He is the founder and CEO of Tipsora, where he provides fractional CTO services to startups and small to mid-sized businesses that don't have a dedicated CTO. With a passion for technology, and a deep understanding of the industry, Arun is committed to helping organizations unlock their full potential through data-driven insights and informed decision making. And without further ado, we welcome Arun Pattanayak to the show. Arun, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you, Chris, for the nice introduction.
My pleasure. We are so happy to be here. So let's before we get into the how do we future proof that was a tongue twister, future proof our business and how tech companies can really teach us those valuable lessons. Can you give us maybe some background about yourself when it comes to what you've learned to future proof our business, and then we can get into the 5-step process?
Yeah. So, graduated with an engineering degree, so started working as a software engineer. So, I was an independent consultant for a lot of companies. So I moved around a lot of companies. Not all of them are tech companies per se. I have a lot of background in financial services industry, but I was always in like the IT department. So I was
Yes.
always in the technology side of the business. And eventually, like I got into Microsoft, which is one of the biggest tech company. So, and along the way, like I was, even though like I wasn't working at Google or Meta, so once you get into this field, you kind of network with people. So I was attending those conferences and I was kind of tracking like what the companies are doing, right? And being at Microsoft, I saw from the inside how the management is run, and how the company envisions their roadmap and how they structure themselves, right? And along the way, like, people started approaching me, can you come in and help us? I'm like, I'm no longer a full-time consultant, now I'm at Microsoft. So I was like, okay, I'll give you some time, part-time. I'll look at what you're doing, and I'll give you some tips on what you can do, right? So that's how I kind of got started on this idea of a fractional CTO, that I cannot be a full-time CTO, but occasionally I can come in and look at what you have and give you some suggestions. And so what I noticed was that most tech companies, they have a different culture. They have a culture of innovation. Tech companies kind of assume that they are the driver of change. So they are always looking to change. They're looking for the next big thing, right? So if you look at the software, like, there is always a new version of the software coming, right? There is always a new architecture. So software is kind of designed to grow and be more capable and do more things, right? So that's why the tech industry is always focused on this growth mindset, that we are always supposed to grow and be more capable and do more things and do things differently that are better,
Yeah.
right? Whereas, when I talk to people in a traditional business, they have the mindset of like, I want to do what I'm doing now forever until I retire, which is like the polar opposite, right? And now with advent of AI, like, we're saying that every company should be a technology company, right? If you are not driven by technology, you just cannot survive the competition. So if every company needs to be a technology company, then every company needs to implement the culture
Yeah.
of a technology company and have that mindset, have the growth mindset, and be in a constant feedback loop to improve themselves. So then I started, teaching this, and then started doing keynote on this, and more people started approaching, and now this is my full-time thing. I'm now full-time CEO of Tipsora, doing fractional CTO advisory, and doing occasional keynotes. So that's how I got here.
Wow, I love it. And I love what you talked about, not only your journey and, obviously where you've gotten your experience. I love the fact that, tech companies they're hungry. They never let that hunger go away. And like you said, when you stop being innovative and creative and you just become complacent and stagnant, that's where companies go to die, or
Yeah,
they might maintain for a while, but
yeah,
eventually someone in their competitive set is going to do things differently, shake things up, and they're going to leave
yeah,
them in the dust. And I
yeah,
love the analogy, so to speak, of what you used about tech companies. They always, even though they could have expanded, they've grown, yet they still maintain that startup mentality
yeah,
that they're always hungry. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Can you share with us, some of the things you've learned, through your journeys, as an in IT, working with tech companies, and now, not only working but also as a fractional, what you've done, and how what we can take from what they do overall, and how that can really help traditional businesses revamp or relook at their strategies, so that I think a lot of times they're afraid to look at that because they're afraid to change things that had been working up to this point, but now they're not, and they don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers, fearing they're going to lose people, that type of thing. If you could share some of those insights, I think it'd be quite helpful for anybody that's listening here that works for a corporation in a managerial role, or even if it's a part of a supply chain in any industry.
Yeah, so everything that I learned, that I saw the pattern of how technology companies are operating and how they're different from traditional companies. I kind of put it all that into this five-step framework. So the step one is like, find your niche. Like, what is it that you're good at? What is it that even without trying, people just come to you, right? For
Yeah.
me, it was engineering that, without even looking for a job, I just graduated and I got a job, right? So what is it that you have built, or you can do a service or a product that is just unique, and people just come find you and ask for it. So that's your niche. So once you have that, the thing is, like, you might think you have the greatest thing. For a long time, like, Microsoft thought that Windows was the biggest thing. They're just going to keep making new versions of Windows, and and that will be their business. But very soon, like, Apple came up and started giving a tough competition. Like, Android came up, right? So once you have that niche, you have to be realistic and understand that whatever edge that you think you have because of your special skill set, your special product, that's not going to last forever,
Yeah.
and you have a time limit. So while you have that niche, you need to think about the next thing, right? So that comes down to operational efficiency. It comes down to revenue maximization, right? So you maximize your niche while you have it, while you have the edge, you maximize as much as you can to generate what I call investable income, right? the- you have additional income beyond your operational expenses that you now have to invest. So that's when you go to the next step where you diversify. So whatever your core niche is, now you think about providing a parallel service. Like for Microsoft it was a Windows service, and then they created Bing and the Office product, and so, like, you start thinking of other things that you can do, right, to kind of diversify your portfolio to the point that it no longer matters if your current niche now has a lot of competition. You still have some piece of the pie, but it's getting smaller. But that's okay, because now you're building another pie in another field, right? So you
Yeah.
start diversifying. And once you have, you know, gathered to a kind of a balanced portfolio, you have to start thinking of, like, going to the next level where you become the platform, right? Becoming the platform means that you allow other people to build using your stuff. So they create their stuff, they grow, and as they grow, you automatically grow, and you are kind of leveraging the power of multiplication through your end user, right? And more people who use your stuff, more is the security for you, right? Think about platform like Airbnb,
Yeah.
Uber. Like, they have become the platform because they created something that now there are so many drivers. They are like, okay, why do I want to work for a taxi cab? I can be an Uber. So there are more Uber drivers that are there. More is the security for Uber, right? Tesla tried to create that platform with their EV charging network, right?
Yes.
So once you get to that successful stage, next thing is that to try to become that platform. Once you have a platform, then you are kind of mature company. Now you need to think about building the culture of innovation within your people. By
Yeah.
this time, you are kind of innovating and building all this, right? Now you have matured. Like, one of the problem with large organization is that in the initial stage, they are a startup mentality, they grow. Once they mature, it becomes too much bureaucracy and it becomes harder to grow. So that's the time, like, when you are reaching that point, you need to create that team structure, and you need to create that work culture where the new people who are coming, they have a way to bring in new ideas and let go of the old ideas and create something new. So this is what I say, you should be in competition with yourself, right? Like, this kind of throws people off, like, I don't want I'm trying to kill my competition. But the thing is, if you don't compete with yourself and if you don't improve yourself, somebody else will, and that's when your downfall starts, right?
Oh,
So
absolutely. Like you said, you got to be out. You got to be out of your comfort zone, but in a way that people feel psychologically safe, not in a conforming or pleasing, enabling way, but in a way that encourages them to start to use critical thinking.
yeah,
If you make a mistake, okay, learn and grow from it, move forward. Don't keep repeating the same mistake.
yeah.
But I think a lot of times, like you said, in these traditional companies, they play it safe. This is why people they don't want to make a mistake, fearing they're going to be judged, they're going to be viewed upon as incompetent. So they just do the bare minimum just to get by.
Yeah. And the final step is, you want to start building your R&D facility, right? And
Yeah,
now that you have new people who have new idea, they should have like an innovation lab where they can experiment these ideas and prove out that this new idea could work, right? So you should
yeah.
have kind of a startup within your company where new ideas can be generated. A lot of those ideas might fail, but if one thing succeeds, that would be your next big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And I know, I know you're going to get into more of this when we get into the second segment. I know we have a few minutes left to that thing. Anything you want to elaborate on from what you just shared, Arun? Because that way we could go into the second segment and kind of dig really deep into that process that I know you're going to go into deeper. So
Yes.
just again, just to reinforce the importance of what you said of it's got to the culture has got to change. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And a big part of the culture is that the way you reward people, right? I have this reward, framework that I call is that, traditionally companies are like fixated on role, right? So you look at a restaurant, okay, you are a waiter, you are a manager, right? You are the doorman, right? So you have this specific role that you're only supposed to do this, but people are capable of doing more, right? If you give them one thing, they will do that, but they also know to do other things. So you have to think of like what type of things that you need to run your business, how
Mm.
much weight do you put on each, and then allow people to pick any of those, and depending on what they're doing and how much weight you're putting on it, that's how you reward them. That way people have an ability to do more than what their role defines. They're not restricted by one role, right? So when people kind of do more to achieve more for themselves, that leads to the growth of your company,
Yeah.
right? So you have to kind of give people that opportunity, that not be locked into doing one thing, have the flexibility to go beyond and do something else that has a bigger impact on the company, which then translates their own impact. So people do it for helping themselves, but it helps the company.
Absolutely. Well said. And I hope everyone that's listening is taking notes. We encourage everybody to go back and listen to this segment or the show once it's, in its entirety, because there is just really great information here. And this is what helps to change the direction of where your business is and where it goes. I don't care if you've been around for 10, 15, 20 years or just starting out. These are key insights that Arun is sharing that can take your business where it is to a whole level. And it's got to start with the mindset that he talked about earlier when we kicked off the show. We got to go to break, everybody. But when we come right back, we got more to come here when it comes to future proof your business with strategies used by top tech companies. And we'll got more to cover in the second segment as to that process. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Sustainable Success. If you're just joining us, we're talking about future proof your business with strategies used by top tech companies. We're here with Arun Pattanayak. He's the CEO of Tipsora and provides fractional CTO services for startups and small to mid sized companies. We encourage everybody to listen to the first segment because it's just some critical information to set the foundation. How, if we can start to think differently individually as a team and as an organization, how that can change the direction of your business, whether if you're a startup or been around for a while. This is critical information. So, Arun, I know you covered briefly the 5 steps that, in terms of the framework that any organization can use to maximize profit and build a more sustainable future based upon whatever that business is. If you could go into each step, starting with the first step, and really, allow us to get a better picture of how that works and then how it connects to the next step and so on to really move our businesses forward.
Yeah, yeah. So the first step is, you find your niche, right? So what can you do that you can easily generate business out of, that it's easy for you to find customer, right? So everybody, if you are in the business, you probably already have something, right? So that part is kind of not that much of a challenge. People know what they can do, and people, if people have a business, they know what they're doing. The part that's challenging is that people don't want to get out of the comfort zone. People think, I'm doing this, I'm going to keep doing this forever. That's unrealistic. So first you have to acknowledge that this is not going to last forever. You're not going to have that edge forever. There are a lot of things that are beyond your control, things in the market, things in the socioeconomic environment, political environment, anything outside of what you can see and control can change. That would change your business, and it would have a significant impact. So while you have it, you have to think about how to build that next business that does not take away anything from your current business, but is
Mm,
something else that you can offer, right? So how do you do that? Like, part of it is operational efficiency. Like, whatever you're doing, you have to be in a constant, you know, monitoring, a feedback monitoring that needs to be there to kind of reevaluate everything. We are spending this much on this. Is there a way to do it cheaper? Right? We are doing it, this process takes this much. Is there a way to do it faster? So you have to always constantly think of improving that, right? And that's where, like, me as a fractional CTO, I can come in. Like, most people don't have technology background, so they cannot think of, what they don't know, they don't know, right? So when I look at what a business process is, I think about how technology can be infused to make these things simpler, easier, faster, and get it done cheaper, right? So that's where you start having that operational efficiency, that now you're still running your business, but you're able to generate, more sale. You are able to do it at a lower cost, so your revenue is increasing, right? So once you have that, that's when you start thinking about creating that side business, right? So then how do you discover what is it that you can offer, right? So if a company, like, we say every company needs to become a technology company, right? So data today is the biggest business, and every company has data, right? So no matter what type of business you are probably generating a unique data that has demand in the market, but you might not even know that that market exists, right? Because I work with a lot of data company. I see the kind of data they're generating and what type of data product they're creating. So
mm,
data is an easy product that any company can create and monetize the data that they have, right? And when I come in, I can see what data they're generating, how can we capture it, how can we create a product out of it that can be licensed, or sold to another company, or could even be leveraged to create a new platform, right? So because I have seen many products like that, I can come in and see, oh, this is where I can do that, right? Or it could be a simpler thing, like you have a restaurant where you are doing delivery. So, well, you can also provide delivery as a service, like, a simple thing, that whatever you are doing, if you think of every business process to be restructured in a way that that process alone can be offered as a service to other companies, then each one of your process within the business just now becomes another business, right? So that's a way to think about it.
I love that. Love that with that. And I, again, and with this, it's not that it's like one size fits all, right? There could be different variations of that and how companies can approach that based upon their business model, the industries they're in, and so on. But yeah, using that as a framework of some things that they can now get creative, like to create a new product or a service from an existing product or something along those lines, and not just feel like whatever you've been the base product that you've been operating from is going to carry your company to that next level, because it's going to eventually you're going to have to come out with something new, and that's where the innovation comes in. I love that. Anything out like what would no would you like to, I mean, is there now another phase you could share with us, like if from that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we can go to like each one of the phase can be a topic
Yeah,
on its
please
own.
do. This, when you dig down deep, it really registers. I feel with the audience, I know is getting great value from it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So in the next phase, like you're thinking about becoming a platform, right? And this is kind of a complex concept for non-technical companies to think
Mm,
of. Like platform by definition is like, we call technology as a platform. Like, so when we think about platform, we think about software, right? So how does a business create a platform, right? And it's all about kind of making your business process generic enough that it can be now used by others, right?
mm,
So an example, like, I talked to an insurance company, so they do there's a claims process, right? So they figure out a way to automate that, and they now license that, you know claims adjustment process to other companies, right? A lot of the banks are now doing that. They are coming up with their own software that they have kind of custom built over the year to do things like transaction monitoring. Like, fin crime is a big thing. So a lot of companies are building fin crime solutions where I have been involved in building some of those products, right? So what process you have in your business that is generic enough that you can now kind of sell that process as a service, right? That others can use it to build their own, right? So, it could be that, you have a, you're generating data, right? And you can have data as a service. You have a business process like your delivery, like your payment processing, so you can have that as a service that others can use, that people would build their own business, but they would use your payment processing, or you have a unique marketing that can be customized, and others can start using that to reach ideal customer using your platform. So you can license your marketing as a service, right? So that's what
is that like a
that's
white label, like white label? Is that what you
yeah.
mean?
So
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
So you are selling your own process as a service.
yes.
So if you can productize it and create it as a software, then you can just license the software, right? Or it could be that a human level service, that maybe part of your service is technology, part of it is people, but you
Mm,
create a kind of a simple interface, or a simple process, that when somebody wants to do this, they can call this number, or they can go to this website and fill out this simple form, and they are going to be delivered this in this way. So you create that simple service that others can use, and now, like internally, you could be using your technology partly manually, having your people do that. So you create that process, right? Now you look at like people talk about cloud, right? All technology companies are creating cloud. Like what is cloud? It's just data center offered as a service. These tech companies realize that they have a lot of data center and there is a lot of things that they don't use. So why not offer it as a service, right? And in the data center, part of it is technology. There are physical machines, there are software that are running on them, but part of it is also human process. There is a human involved in doing the patching. So you could be offering that. You could have a business process where there is some software and you have people who know how to do intermediate things in between, and you package it all together and offer it as a service that people can use to build their own business,
Mm.
right? And more people who use it, more security it is for you, because now their growth is your growth, right?
True, it goes hand in hand, and
Yeah.
yeah, and you're building up a lot of data that you can now reference and go off of, and now you can measure better to see what's working, what's not, and yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, keep going. I don't know if you had something else you
Yeah,
wanted
so
to.
I mean, the next, so this platform is kind of a hard concept for people to understand. But when I come in, I can kind of analyze and think about what can be a platform, right? But the next step is also another challenging thing, which is building a culture of growth, right?
Mm,
Uh, a lot of traditional companies, companies which are like family-owned business, or private firms, where it's like, it's generational. So people kind of want to have the control, and people kind of have that boss mentality that whatever I say is right. You should just do what I tell you. And in the technology sector, it just does not make sense that to hire smart people and tell them what to do, right? Because so that's why a lot of tech companies have this way that you come in and you are given access to what you have, and you kind of decide what you want to do. So people, even like mid-level developers in companies, they work like an executive, right? So like I was at Microsoft as a technical specialist, but I
mm,
created initiatives on my own. I felt like I could do something that could have a company-wide impact. So I just started doing it. And, so if you allow people to create a new service, create a new product, right? Or suggest a change to existing thing, then you are now kind of leveraging your people to come up with that next big thing, right? And when you do that, a challenge is that if you allow people to suggest new things, there are going to be n number of suggestions, right? Then how do you know which one is good and which one is bad, right?
mm.
That becomes a challenge, that if you allow people to do whatever, then there will be too much noise that people would do everything, right? So how do you kind of make sure that you filter out the good ones out of the noise, right? And this is where, like, you look at how search engines work, right? There is a simple algorithm that you have a website, and how many websites are linking to you, that kind of means that your website is higher rated, because there are more people referring to this, right? So you can have that same algorithm and the same concept in your company to manage your team, that you don't need to evaluate each and every idea and say which one is good and which one is bad. You let the crowd decide. If an employee is saying that we should do this, ask them to find a certain number of people that would be enough to justify that it has the good enough weightage, to kind of support that if you want to make this change, will these people support you in the change? If you cannot find 2 3 people to support you on your project, then it's probably not a good idea,
Yeah.
right? So you have this peer evaluation that is kind of filtering out that good idea to find the real good ideas. So the the upper management, the main owner, doesn't have to evaluate each and every one, right? So anything that comes through that peer evaluation, whatever the top ones, that's the ones you need to focus.
Love that. And some great insights. Now we're getting as we get near the end of this second segment. Anything else you want to elaborate with that what you just shared, or because I know what we can go into the last segment to go through the rest of the steps for the framework. But anything else you want to elaborate on to that, as we take us out to break.
Yeah, yeah. So, when you have this, peer evaluation, so there is this that, you can leverage that weight criteria to kind of have this performance evaluation that kind of depends on who is coming up with the idea, right? So you come up with that, rating of what business process is do you value more, like in your business is sales more important than operation, right? So you can come up with a number system that maybe 1 to 100, right? How much weight would you put on each of the process, right? So
Mm.
when somebody is coming up with a suggestion, you kind of weight the idea based on how important it is to your business, right? Based on how you have categorized different parts of your business as what's important. And then for each of the person that is suggesting, how many other people are agreeing with that? So that adds another point. So this way, the people who are constantly having more good ideas, which are more important to the company, and more people are supporting them, those are the people who are your high performers.
Yeah.
So the way you create your the next big thing in your company, it can be just naturally translated out of the performance evaluation criteria that you cultivate, so that your teams kind of start forming using their own leadership mechanism. So people become leader on their own. It's not that a manager is playing favoritism to kind of pick whoever they like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be the example and be a resource, of course,
Right.
but it's up to them to take that self-leadership role over whatever their role and duties are in their position. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Love it. Anything that as we get to the end of this last segment, anything you like that you want to just sum up in 20 seconds of what you shared here in the second segment.
Yeah. So the bottom line is to treat your employees the way you treat your customers and your influencers and your partners,
Oh yeah.
because your employees are each one of those, and they can become that if you cultivate them that way, right? And employees are among the most loyal customers, right? And down the line, if they build their own business, they can also be a great partner, right? But you have to kind of cultivate that, and give them that opportunity, and grow them that way, so they kind of become customer, partner, and supporter for life.
Yeah, so true. Golden nuggets there shared by Arun. Again, we hope everybody is taking notes. This is a great opportunity to write this down. You're also going to get an opportunity in the last segment to get contact information from Arun if you choose to contact him. We'll also make sure that's in the show notes as well. Again, go back and listen to both segments. There's golden information. So something that you might have overlooked or missed, you'll get it on the second go around. And again, don't forget to share with any colleagues or anybody in your industry or your profession that could benefit from today's discussion. We got to go to break, everybody. When we come right back, we got more to come with Future Proof Your Business with strategies used by top tech companies. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sustainable Success. If you're just joining us here, we are talking about future-proof your business and with strategies used by top tech pros. We're here with Arun Pattanayak. He's the CEO again of Tipsora, where he provides fractional CTO services to startups and small to mid-sized companies that don't have a dedicated CTO. Again, some great information on how you can future-proof your business. And today's show again is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types. And it also features a new section for professional athletes. Yes, those professional athletes that are now retiring from their sport to now transition into another career, maybe buy a business or a franchise. Well, guess what? You don't have to do it alone. You can now form groups with other professional athletes that are in transition, just like you, to build more rapport and trust to make your transition more seamless. They also have a dedicated podcast to it called From Athletes to Entrepreneurs. Also airs on the Alumni Direct website through the CEO and founder, Rob Finkelstein. Again, if you like some more information about that, if you are an athlete or know one, feel free to check it out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Arun, just some great information that you've shared on, that you're going through the five-step framework, what organizations can do to maximize, profits, other business metrics of importance to increase the valuation of their business, and to create a sustainable future or legacy in their industry and what they're doing. So, what I'd like to ask you is, I mean, and feel free to share some more insights that you feel like you haven't covered, but, you know, many successful organizations, especially in the tech industry, of course, and even other industries, have what they call an R&D, a section, where this is where these new innovative and creative ideas are born from. Can you cover the importance of that and even apply that to, say, other traditional industries that might not see what's the purpose of having R&D and why would that really, transform our business and why that would be so important, whatever how it can align to where they're at.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, building R&D facility is kind of the final level of the maturity of a company, right? So you found your niche, you diversified, you balanced your portfolio, you created your platform to build your security, right? You now have a culture of growth in your company, so your company is growing. The final step is, now you have optimized your business and you have grown in size, but then you need to think about what's next. How can you now do things that don't exist yet, right?
Yeah.
So this is where that R&D facility comes in, where you now have researchers, right? So when I talk about R&D, people think, okay, this is a tech thing, or this is a scientific thing that a medical company or pharma company, they would have researchers to invent new medicine. Technology companies, of course, they're researching, like, AI is now a thing. Now cloud computing is coming up, so there is always this new technology, new research happening on what's the next big thing that can be created. But if you look at a traditional business, right? So what does R&D look like for a traditional business, right? It can be that, how do you survey, right? So it could be a, do you have a group of people, or even the people who are doing the regular business operation work, right? Are you giving them time to allocate a part of their time into thinking about how to improve or what else can be done, right? So it could be that, come up with a way to kind of evaluate what's working and what's not working. How do you make your service more personalized and relevant to your customer, right? So you should have a group of people. It should not be that those group of people only throw ideas, and if it works, it doesn't work. What I actually recommend is that you allow all of your people to become researchers. So they should do their work and have like 20% of their time dedicated to thinking and proposing new things, new way of doing things, new ideas for what other services can be provided. Allow them to spend 1 day a week or 20% of their time to just spend on creating these new ideas and creating that process. Like, once you have an idea, okay, how do we go about implementing it? Let them take the lead of creating that new process, and you can still use that evaluation process. If somebody has the idea, get voting among your team members. Do you agree with that idea? If you agree, do you agree enough that you would be willing to spend your time to try to do this, knowing that it may work or may not work, right? If you are willing to spend your time, that means you truly believe that this will work, right? So you use that metric to evaluate the idea and let people come up with that next big thing, right? So
Mm.
that's what it looks like for traditional businesses, right? And of course, like, in technology and in science, people, there are like dedicated people who are just only do research, where they publish research paper, they come up with new algorithm, they come up with a new drug, new formula, a new product, a new technology, right? So that's very common in technology, science, and even university area, right? But it's not very common in a traditional business like a bank, or a insurance company, or a restaurant, or any of those traditional business. They don't think about doing research, right?
Mm.
And that is a fundamental shift that needs to happen. That if you want to think about being a innovative company and think like a tech company, then you need to think about how can you foster innovation within your company. How can you allow your employees to become researcher? One of the good example is, like, there are restaurants now with robots. Right, a robot as a waiter. And there are companies where within the restaurant you can use a tablet to order what you want,
Yeah.
and then the robot will bring it to you.
I've
So
seen those in airports. The
yeah,
airport.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's an example of innovation. So I don't know exactly who came up with the innovation. Maybe the tech companies came and pitched this
Yeah.
restaurant. But this is an example of something that could actually come out of the restaurant people themselves, right?
Mm.
So, they should have some tech staff to kind of help them with tech, but the people should be like, hey, there are people coming in, they wait for a waiter to show up, then they place an order. Why can't they just order it there? It's a very simple idea that people can come up with, right? If they're allowed the time to create the idea, get support for the idea, and then have a way to implement that idea.
Mm, yes, love that. I love that, and I love the approach because again, R&D is so critical. Like because again, you always got to be one step ahead. You can't, even though you have a product that has just come out, it's like a pharmaceutical drug, right? It might be out now, and now it's out for a year. But guess what? There's going to be a generic right around the corner. And
Yes.
so if we're not putting out another, putting another drug into the works with R&D, again, somebody else is going to beat us to it.
Yeah.
Another pharma company is going to do it. So it doesn't matter how big you are, right? This could be even if you're a small man in the industry, you still got to look at it in the same way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for pharma companies, that's what they live for. They make money on the patent, right?
Yeah.
It's not the medicine; it's the patent. So patent has a time limit of 10 years or something, and then generics can kick in, right? So they make money while they have the patent. So they always have to use their R&D to create that next medicine that they can patent, right? And it's not just creating new medicine. It could be like a way to do the testing. So nowadays, like, animal testing is getting banned, right? And there is a way to use software to do the drug testing that does not require animal testing.
Mm,
So there are companies I was talking to, they are creating this software so which can be approved by FDA, that the drug can go through the testing through the software without ever using human testing or animal testing.
mm,
Right? So it doesn't have the tech company that creates it. It could be the pharma company that could create it and license to other pharma companies and even FDA, right? So that's just one example. So but that innovation would come only if people have the time, given by the company to do the research, come up with a way to implement it, should have the authority given to them to go and implement it on their own, and they should be able to get financial support for that from the company. And if they do, that they would do it for their career growth, but the company would have another business and another platform that they could build that is increasing their security, right? So
yeah.
that's how you have to think about it. It's again going back to that being in competition with yourself. Like, if you have grown, using that culture of growth, that's good, but you still are competing with the next technology innovation. And
Yes.
you don't have to wait for the technology company to do that innovation. That innovation can come from you.
Yeah. And I guess, I guess this change, it does it, no matter how big the company is, even if it's small, does it have to come from the top down? Because obviously, if people are going to buy in at the tactical level, they want to know that the senior level is committed and bought in. It's not like, hey, we want you to change to do
Yeah.
these things, but we're not, we don't have to do anything. We don't have to change anything.
Yeah, so that's where you need to have that process, right?
Yeah.
Because
So important.
in the university and academia field, it's a very common process that a professor, a researcher comes up with a research paper. First thing that happens is it gets peer reviewed, right? So other professors review it and think, is this a good idea? Is this something that should go to publication? Would they want to invest into this research, right? If they do, then after that approval is met, then it goes to a publication, and then it goes to another layer of review, right? Similarly, a company can have, like, first of all, you allow people to spend some time creating new ideas. Once they create idea, allow them to present their idea. Then first layer of validation is peer review. Once an employee has an idea,
Yeah.
how many other employees are supportive and willing to work on it?
Yeah.
So if once you have that, that's your peer review passed, right? The next phase is now you create that financial proposal. Okay, what would it take to make it happen? How much would
Yeah.
it cost? How many other people's time do we need to take while we're doing this? Is this going to disrupt our business?
Yes.
Right, so all those metrics need to be jotted down and clarified, and then it can be reviewed by the management that, yes, is this feasible? So that's kind of going through the same idea of the when startups go for funding, right? They say,
Absolutely.
this is our idea, this is how, these are our competitor, if we do this, this is our roadmap, this is how long it will take for us to build this, and this is how much money we need at each stage. And then if all of that checks out, then they get the funding, right? So same
Absolutely.
process can happen within any company by the management.
I love this, Arun. And I know we're getting close to the end of the show, and I want to bring you back on because I know there's more to expand on this topic because you can only do so much in an hour. But I wanted to make sure that you had the time here for the next, minute and a half to share with the audience how can they, first of all, get in contact with you, connect with you? What are you up to now in this area? And anything you like to leave or provide the audience?
Yeah, so I'm very easy to find if you can spell my name with the correct spelling. If you look up my name online, my link will come up. But I have a website. It's arunansupatnayak.com. It's just my full name.com. My email is arun@arunansupatnayak.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. In terms of free gift, if you send me an email with some idea on what your business is and how technology can help, and if you give some business detail, I will give you a free consultation and give you my ideas. And if you like it, we can work on the fractional CTO model.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure that everybody, that all of Arun's contact information, his full name, the information he provided to you verbally will be on the show notes on the Lisbon platform. Again, that's where you get a lot of that information there. So, Arun, I mean, great, great information. I want to thank you for, first of all, being here, taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us. If you could just take 15 seconds to sum up everything you shared today, this critical information for the listeners.
Yeah, it's to think of the mindset, think of growth mindset. You should always be growing. Never think that what you are doing or what you have will last. Never take what you have for granted. Always look out for the room for improvement.
Love it. So again, continuous improvement. It's again, if you make a mistake, learn from it, grow. That's how true innovation and creativity, what takes a company to the next level. Again, we encourage you to reach out to Arun, get to know him, have him speak at your next event as well. Critical information there. And again, we encourage everybody to listen to this show. Again, there were a lot of golden nuggets left here in the show. I want to thank Arun again for being here. And again, we want to thank you, listeners, for being here each and every week. Here, the Sustainable Success Way. We are committed each and every week in bringing subject matter experts in, like Arun, to share their words of insights to take you and your business to the next level. If there is any content that you would like to see shared on a future show, feel free to reach out to our team here at chris@sustainablesuccess.net. We'd be more than happy to take information and to see about having that content covered on a future show. Now, we've been around for over 8 years, so we've covered a lot of content here. So I'm sure we've touched about pretty much everything, but then again, not everything. So feel free to reach out to us. And we want to wish everybody a great 4th of July weekend as we head into the 4th of July. And again, make sure to get in contact with Arun, whether for any questions related to, technical strategy around what he shared about future-proofing your business as a fractional CTO. And again, if you're looking for a speaker for your next event or conference, definitely get in contact with Arun. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week.